question. Since we are on the topic of India Inc. becoming a fast-forward country, as compared, not compared. I mean, in the global scenario, I'd like to ask you that we've talked about flexi staffing in the Indian context, and you've seen that India is not very pro the flexi staffing concept, because it's still because of the minds of the people and the general transition and the trends that are changing over the period of time. But the origin of flexi staffing actually came from a need to beat the recession back in the West, which started. So I would like to know that what is the current situation of flexible staffing or interim management of talent back in the West, when you see it now post-recession, or after the management of the recession?
Yeah, I think so. Really, if I can summarize it, it's more about what's the the value of staffing when it's not a recession. Is that kind of what you're getting at in a way? I think when you look at it, in all markets, and this is nothing new to the U.S. or anyone in the U.S., the value went from trying to help from a cost perspective during a recession to really, when I look at the customers I had 10 years ago in the U.S., it was how can we get our full-time employees to do more innovative things, and really maybe not fully outsource, but at least get the contractors to do maintenance or support functions. Then they got their PEs to be able to do some of the more creative things. Now I think and I think Sangeeta touched on this before, getting to a point where a lot of those contractors are brought in for the innovation, because they typically don't have it on site. And I think that's an evolution of staffing per se. I think each market will go through probably a different order and a different context for sure. But hopefully that to begin to answer your question.
So can we say that as entrepreneurs we have websites like freelancer.com, Odesk, Elance, Fiverr, Foro.com. So these are all websites as a significant consequence of the fact that flexi staffing became very significant in the West, and then as a result moved on to the Asian continents as well.
Yeah, I mean, the origin of those websites is a funny thing. Maybe that's the of the recruiters in the U.S., but I don't know. I mean, that's a good question. What does everyone else think in that context?
I'm not sure if I have a question, but I have a question for the panel. If I can switch my role, moderator and whatever around. So I have a question. So what is the revolution and the transformation happening in a typical Indian organization that the staffing industry is actually responding to? Do you find a change in attitude? Do you find a change in the conventional employment relationship? I was listening with in the previous panel when I think it was Sangeeta who said there's no such thing as permanent employment, right? Very interesting comment. So there's no such thing as permanent employment, but there is that typical DNA of an organization which actually believes that with time performance matures, and you find so many of your pillars of performance actually guiding them. I mean, I remember one of my clients reading an attrition report, I'm sure all of us have read, and typically, and for probably the 100th time, I saw an attrition report that said attrition actually comes down with longevity. So the longer an employee experiences my organization and what I have to give you and what my vision is and what my great strategy is and how will you climb as part of that, I can add value if you're here, the lower is the chance that the person will have tried, the more knowledge accumulates, and the more the knowledge kind of comes back and creates performance.
The known devils.
Absolutely.
Known devils.
So if that's been the mindset, and because of that mindset you have this thing set up which says that permanent employment will always be the direction of good. And I was reading this piece of data, I one of your sites which said that all the youngsters between the age of 21 and 28 who actually join a staffing company, within the first year, seek and get a permanent placement. So you're constantly in. So so is there a change taking place in that model which is within the organization to say that how do I create value, not with permanent people sitting in an office, that model is now ever going to go away, but with skill sets that are available in a virtual world, whether you're using technology, but does that mean that that employment with me and that relationship with me is actually commoditized? And I never see that person, I never see the face, and we just pay. And there's this guy sitting in UK who's actually developing my website who I've never met. And after he does it, I'll pay him. So is there a change taking place in the way corporate India is thinking about employment, about creating value, that is pushing the whole process of innovation in staffing industry to say, we need to climb up the value chain to be able to respond to this? That's really my, sorry, long, but the question has been at the back of my mind.
Okay, I'm going to take a little contra view, might have experience in the first half. So with the permission. See, we all are slave of the business environment, okay? And we will not be able to do anything outside business environment. We will, in our own limited manner, will try and influence the business environment. But let's understand 2-3 developments which if happen, what will it do to business environment first place? For example, emails no longer there and things are moving in the direction. Our workplace is getting limited to mobile because cloud. Today, I have started my career when I used to do typing on the rice paper and redundant typewriter. Then you used to have pager, telex, fax, and so on and so forth. Today, I am experiencing that I don't even need my laptop beyond reading mails. I don't need it. So that means I don't have to stick to my chair. Brick and mortar banks are slowly going to die its own death because 100 payments companies are queued up to make the payments. Most of the supermarkets or the other mobile companies are now dealing with the payments, transfer of money, and the margin is very high. And that's why probably Bharti is in Africa. Okay. Next is currency is going to get wiped off. You will not require cash. And you can look back yourself. 5 years ago, the amount of cash you used to spend, and today you are spending that money, and 5 years from now, the cash I'm talking, okay, is how much do you require? Except giving the toll, which is one of the biggest cash generator in this company, okay, and that's going to go away. Now, if the cash is not there, how currency is going to, I'm not saying not there means almost 100% not out, but almost 80% out of our life. What is it going to do to the service? How many of us have visited more than once, maybe in last 3 months, to our bank branch, right? But if you recall our parents, maybe they used to just go to bank to see if bank is there, if no other work, right? So what is this going to do? How products will get sold? How the customer would be serviced? And that's where, in this environment, what the staffing industry and flexi staffing is going to do, unless they really evolve to high level of skills and the services to the potential customers of future. Are we gearing up? And that's the fast forward workplace to my knowledge.
Well, I'm not from this industry, staffing industry, but let me say it in the beginning itself. By seeing the number of participants who are there after post-lunch, I'm seeing that this industry has got a huge future, because I keep speaking in most of the conferences, you'll speak to the empty chair after lunch probably. And the company I represent, we operate in both the sides. So some places we place as chief security officers or risk managers to the various blue chip companies in India who looks after their portfolio, manages information risk, the physical security risk, and cyber security. So we are a company who operates from, say, man guarding agency, which is a very low skill, helping the agencies or the companies to, manage their security, physical side. And we operate on a cyber security. So how many of you knows about cyber security or hacking? Can you raise your hand, please? Yeah. So it's such a skill task that, in next 5 minutes, I can hack into your mobile phone and I can get all your data to me and, your contacts, your passwords and everything. So for us, it's a very challenging environment, managing a very low skill, task of a security guard to providing people who are cybersecurity experts. And the latest development which has happened in the defense sector, which impact us, and probably, the staffing companies can help in that, is that Prime Minister has announced that, the FDI increased to the 49%. And we participate in various complex design, defense design projects where the skill sets required are totally different. And they need to come from various industry experts. So that is probably an area where, a lot of staffing companies can provide help to us. And we approach them to, provide us those subject matter experts. So that's from my side.
Can I ask a question to the audience? A question about, you triggered it. A question about you all, well, the ones in the room that are in the flexi staffing business, you all have clients. I hope so, at least. And is there any one of you that has a client that has 100% of his workforce flexi workers? 100%.
Yes, boss.
And can you describe that client and why? Because that may be a very interesting case.
Technology here in Chennai, and they had only one director from that company.
Yeah.
All the others are still flexi staffs, completely staffed flexi. I do not know now, it is 3 years back it was so.
Absolutely, and this is, I think it's not a future for every company, because it depends very much on what the company does and what the company wants and its product, its service. But certainly if you look at the IT sector, you probably may or may not know a company, big company in the Netherlands called ASML. Its chips are in all your phones, computers, and whatever have you more. It's very cyclical business. It's like this, volatile to hell and back. Oh, that's new too, eh? A lot of volatility. They cannot manage their workforce on a permanent basis. It's too risky. So they have to manage it flexibly, 100%, okay. Maybe the managing director and the HR director are more or less permanent, but even they, 100% flex workers, flexi workers. And they work, their retention is not so much in workers, but in the flex companies, where they have a good and solid relationship. Because they know that when they are in and up, they will supply the workers they need. And when the economy gets down again, they will take them back. They will retrain them, skill them, place them elsewhere, but they know, because they invest in that relationship, they will get them back once the economy boosts again. So it is investing, when we're talking retention, it's investing also in different relationships. It's not only investing in your permanent workers. It's thinking more broadly about who do you need in your value chain.
Yeah, come on.
I think when we talk about innovation and where the workforce trends are heading from a flexi staffing point of view, if you look at the challenges we have, I think it boils down to about 3 things where I think innovation are needed. If you look at spend, skills, and compliance, this is what the clients want to look at. I had a recent experience where a large MNC who was a client of ours in US came, and he said, Kamal, this is what I want. He pressed a Kelly app. And in that, it talked about how many attempts they had on that day, what kind of skills they had and what is the skills requirement they needed. And it talked about all the compliances that they need. I just fainted. I said, no, we can't do that in India. And I've been running away from that customer for almost a month now, Because, the margins I make in India doesn't allow me to give the same innovation that he's possibly getting from the same company in US. If you look at what all we heard in the morning today, they're asking the same thing in different languages. If you ask, somebody said specialization, I'll pay for it, but